I think about this, Cenk, that oftentimes what you don't say says it most. The lack of outrage on any other cable network about this, the lack of caring about those innocent lives lost, and you compare that to the nonstop coverage of ICE raids, it's sad, but it says everything about the media, and I won't put you in this because I know you have problems with the Democratic Party, but everything with Democratic leadership's problem and priorities.
Yeah. So, Leland, thanks for having me on. Look, it doesn't have to be either or. Two things can be true at the same time. I think that what you're pointing out is two completely different problems, and context matters here too. So, and you're right to not include us in those groups because at the Young Turks, we said that crime had gone up between 2019 and 2023 because it had, especially in the large cities. And we were concerned about that. And we said, if you care about minorities and vulnerable communities and Black and brown communities, then you would care about that crime because it affects them the most, right? But at the same time, I'm concerned about the ICE raids. I think that Joe Rogan has it right. When Donald Trump talked about closing the border, that was popular, and he did do it. When he talks about taking out people who are criminals from the country who are undocumented, that is popular. But when he starts deporting gardeners and cooks and people that have been here 10 or 20 years...
You and I agree on this. You and I agree on this. That there's a line of where public support is America and where there's a sort of a fundamental fairness issue of how Americans view things. As you point out, you throw out people who've been here for 10 or 15 years, have never broken a law, they're coming here illegally and are working hard. That's different than throwing out people who have committed crimes. But I guess my question is, why do you think there is such silence? And I take MSNBC, who says they care so much about Black lives, Black politicians who say they care so much about Black lives, and yet this huge threat to young Black male lives, not only in Philadelphia, but we'll go to Chicago next. This is where there were 12 killed and 65 injured in 33 shootings, including the River North area, which had a mass shooting. I remember when people cared about mass shootings. And you know what Mayor Johnson keeps saying is the biggest threat to Chicago? Take a listen.
The incoming administration is not just a threat to Chicago, but a threat to what is sensible about this country. And as mayor of the city of Chicago, we're not going to bend or break or cower to someone's threat. We're going to stand up and unite around our shared values.
Now, he may not be the best person to pick on because I think he has about an 8% approval rating. But at the same point, where is the outrage from Black politicians, from progressive media organizations about this?
Yeah. So again, context here matters. I think Mayor Johnson and Larry Krasner are two very different cases. So, for example, you put up a little bit of a graphic there showing that crime has gone up about 3% since 2024, so in the last year. But there was a dramatic drop-off in crime in Philadelphia specifically between 2023 and 2024. I know because I interviewed both of those guys, and Larry Krasner makes a really good case that crime has dropped in Philly. And so this is a terrible outburst of it, but at least he's trying to do something about it. Whereas Brandon Johnson, we interviewed him, we were hopeful about him, but he's not done a very good job in Chicago.
Yeah, and that'd be an understatement.
Yeah, and when you look at the people that ICE is rounding up, 72% of them have no criminal charges, conviction, or any of that.
I've heard statistics on either side, but I think this issue of big cities is an important one because big city crime was something that Republicans have used really effectively. And I think it's important because I think these folks who are victims of this crime and living in these neighborhoods need a voice. And if MSNBC won't be their voice, I'll be their voice because I think it's the right thing to do. You think about Mamdani in New York, who's running on a platform not of defunding the police, but actually eliminating the New York Police Department.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he says he wants to create the Division of Public Safety or something where everybody's going to sing songs and talk about why stealing's bad, I guess. I don't know. No. That's what he says. But this is my question. Is Mamdani the future of the Democratic Party?
Yeah, so first of all, let's be clear about what he said. So I'm not a defund the police guy. I've had battles with those guys, et cetera, because I think it's a terrible slogan. But what Mamdani is talking about is taking a portion of the police budget and moving it towards social services in the cases where social services make more sense, when it's a mental health issue, et cetera. And I actually want to see him try it, because I'm curious to see if that's going to work or not. Defunding the police altogether and not having cops would be absurd, but that is definitely not what he's suggesting. He's suggesting a reapportionment, and I don't know how that's going to turn out.
Didn't we learn from 2021 and 2022 and 2023 none of this stuff worked?
Yeah, I don't know that we did learn that. I think that it was a great question, and it never really got resolved as to whether COVID drove a lot of those results or some of the policies drove some of those results. We've had a lot of conversations on TYT about this, and I'm open to the idea that, for example, no cash bail made a lot of sense to me. But I think that for recidivists, you really need cash bail. Otherwise, they just keep committing the crime over and over again.
Yeah, it tends to be that the people who commit crimes end up committing more crimes. But this is a point, right? That one of the best things for Donald Trump is a foil. This is Trump talking about Mamdani today. Take a listen.
He's not a socialist, he's a communist, and he said some really bad things about Jewish people, and he said some really bad things about a lot of people. And I think he's going through a little bit of a honeymoon right now, but he might make it. But, you know, it all comes through the White House. He needs the money through the White House. He needs a lot. He's going to behave. He'll behave. He better behave.
I know that was going to set you off.
Okay, first of all, Donald Trump's one to talk about saying anti-Semitic things. He just said Shylock the other day.
Oh, come on. Move on.
Oh, what? You say it about Mamdani, I can't say it about Trump? And Trump actually said anti-Semitic things. Mamdani has never said anything anti-Semitic. Okay, and then Donald Trump, I would challenge him to define a socialist and a communist. There's no way that he knows that distinction. And no, Mamdani's not a communist.
He wants state-run grocery stores.
Yeah,
that's Venezuela and the Soviet Union. It didn't work.
Yeah, no, look, I wouldn't have been high on my priority list, but that's another one that I'm curious to have him try. The people of New York say, hey, we want to go in this direction. So let's see,
Jake, we tried it. We tried it in Venezuela. We tried it in Venezuela.
No. Venezuela was a giant takeover by the government and total centralized
exactly
planning.
what he was. Okay.
No, it's not exactly what he was.
I told you we could fill. I told you we could fill.
Let's be clear about what he's saying. No, Leland, let's be clear about what he's saying, because he's not saying take away all the money for cops, and he's not saying we're going to run the...
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.